Hello, I am Baal Kadmon, and I would like to thank you for watching and or listening to this podcast. It's been a while. It's been a few months since I released a podcast or a video. The last one was on In Heduanov. That will be a video in the Ancient Mesopotamia course, which I am still working on. It's a fucking beast. I mean, this thing is like consuming me alive. So I'm working on it still. I will get it out this year. Definitely. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm getting there. I've already passed the Akkadians, and we're moving along. So I released a text yesterday, February 6th, on Molech, or Moloch, right? Some of you know him as Moloch. Some of you know him as Molech. I know him as Molech because that's just what it is in Hebrew. It's not a long book. It's just about under 100 pages, but I go in deep about who Moloch is. And it's not what you think. So in this podcast, I'm going to read the introduction, and I'll provide the link for you in the video and in the description. And I hope you enjoyed, because it really goes deep. Even though it's a short book, it goes super deep into Moloch. So I'm going to read you the introduction, and hopefully you'll be interested in reading it, because it really is something that I think the occult world needs to know, because I think we have a lot of misconceptions about Moloch, and this book, I think, will help you parse through that. So here is the introduction. Introduction. Moloch, or in Hebrew Molech, has long been shrouded in mystery and myth. There are very closely held beliefs about him, especially in the occult world. However, as you may have read in my previous books, when I deal with closely held beliefs, I often illustrate that things aren't quite what they seem. Moloch has been depicted as a god, or demon, who demands human sacrifice, often in the form of child sacrifices. In artistic representations, Moloch is depicted as a large, imposing figure with a head of a bull or a ram, symbolizing strength and power. He is sometimes depicted as having a large, outstretched arms to receive the sacrifices, and is usually depicted with a sort of a furnace of fire within him. Is this depiction based on fact or fiction? Are we confusing Molech with another god? Does Molech even exist? Is there more than one Molech? Is Molech in the Bible simply a way for the biblical writers to deflect from the fact that it is in fact Yahweh who's the one who demands child sacrifices? The problem with understanding Molech and his depiction in the Bible is that the information provided is often biased. The Old Testament, which is the primary source of information about Molech, is written from the perspective of the Israelites and reflects their cultural and religious biases against other nations. But it goes even deeper than that. In the Hebrew and Greek versions of the Old Testament, the references to Molech are inconsistent, leading some scholars to question whether Molech was a deity or just a symbol used to describe the idolatrous practices of other cultures, or as a description of a kind of sacrificial offering. Another prevalent idea about Molech is that he goes by other names, such as Milcom, Adramelech, and Baal. I will illustrate in this book that this is not the case. And finally, I will address the elephant in the room, whether or not Molech had children sacrificed to him. FYI, the Bible doesn't even say that children were sacrificed to him. Well, not in the original language, but it does so in English. And this is what led to the misunderstanding of Molech. There's a lot to unpack here. In this short book, I aim to shed light on the true nature of Molech by examining the texts that mention him, by critically analyzing the references to Molech in religious texts. We can start to distinguish fact from fiction and separate the true nature of Molech from the cultural and religious biases that may have influenced his depiction over time, if we can even use him to describe Molech. With that, I hope you enjoy the journey. Okay, that is the introduction. Now, I want to give some context here. We often think of Molech as the God in the Old Testament that people sacrifice children to, right? The thing is that in the original text, it actually doesn't say that at all. When it talks about actually burning children in a sacrifice, it doesn't mention Molech at all. Now, in some translations in English, it might, but in the original, it does not. In the Greek, it certainly does not. And even in the Aramaic, it does not. So, my book, I illustrate why Molech isn't, I hate to say this, isn't anything. It's actually not, it's not even a mensch, it's not even a being. And I go into detail why I came to that conclusion, and you'll see for yourself why I did as well. So if you're interested in this book, the link is in the description below. You can see it also on your screen. I know it's going to rock some boats. I definitely do. But I think this is something that the occult community needs to read. I mean, look, you don't have to agree with me, right? But I present all the information for you. And then you can see if that's something that resonates with you, right? Yeah, so take a look at it. I will have the audio book done within the next week or so. For those who prefer the audio, I love audiobooks myself. That's a way that I consume books as well. It's coming. But I really do hope you enjoy it. It's available right now on Amazon. And again, I present the information. Don't kill the messenger. Just I present the information to you. And then from there, you can draw your own conclusions. With that, I hope you are well. I will speak to you soon. So mote it be.